Grr. Hey dolls, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with another makeup and movies. And because it's the holiday season, or at least it was when I filmed this, we had a brand new addition to the oeuvre that is holiday movies. And this one was from World of Wonder and MTV Entertainment. The movie is called The Bitch That Stole Christmas, and it was billed as the draggiest Christmas movie ever, featuring 20 RuPaul Drag Race queens in the cast. I would question that a little myself. I don't know how involved some of them were, but they're there. Don't blink. I'm just saying. And the makeup is the Juvia's Place latest release, the I Live, I Love series, as well as the Olori series. So if you want to see me put this look together and talk about The Bitch Who Stole Christmas, well, then just stay tuned. Okay, so first up, the makeup. We have Juvia's Place, Juvia's Place, Juvia's Place, because they released two different series just before and during Black Friday. And, well, you know, I have a sickness. I had to pick them up. The first series they had was the I Live, I Love series, which is, I don't know, that's a little too esoteric, that name for me. But there were two palettes in this. Now, the interesting thing about these palettes is they both had mirrors. Juvia's Place usually doesn't do mirrors. I think that's one of the reasons why they keep their costs down. And then Juvia's Place came out with the Olori. There's three palettes. This was the first one. And it was Olori 1 and then 2 and 3. And I bought the 1 because I didn't realize it was 1. I bought it on its own. And that kind of pissed me off because I wish I'd waited and got all three at the same time. No mirror. Although these are the same price as the I Live, I Love, same amount of makeup. No mirror in these, and this one is gorgeous. So that's number 1. I love that. Number 2 is this one, which totally different colors. And then the last of the Olori, oh sorry, that was 3, Olori 3. This is Olori 2. This is my favorite one of all of these, of all 5 of these, as you can see, because it's blue. Those are the palettes that I'll be using. I'm also going to be using my Festival by Juvia's, because this one has the best blush colors for me, like that pink, fabulous. So the movie, I hope on one level it becomes a holiday classic, on another level I hope it doesn't. But it's the first year release of The Bitch Who Stole Christmas by World of Wonder and MTV Entertainment Studios. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a weird little movie. One of the things that's fun about it is the casting. There are 20 RuPaul's Drag Race queens in this movie. Now that doesn't mean they all have speaking parts. I mean, there are a lot of queens in here that you just recognize, or in the case of Kelly Mantle, you don't recognize. Starting off by going into the Olori 2, that matte, that blue. I can't help it. I have to use it. It's so beautiful. The premise of this movie is a magazine editor played by RuPaul. Her name is Hannah Contour. She sends her assistant out on an assignment to report on this town, Tuckahoe, and their yearly Christmas celebration. But her real mission is to steal the Queen of Christmas crown. Now, the thing that's weird about this movie is it really does come off like just one big extended drag race challenge, an acting challenge, you know. One of the things that does that for me is the fact that RuPaul, almost every scene she's in, is green screened. Even though they're shooting in location, she's not in the room. It was very distracting, but on an interesting level. Because RuPaul, that whole thing with Pearl, save it for the camera, I just feel that there's a level with RuPaul where she just distances herself from a lot of the queens. I think there are just some queens that she's just not interested in being in the room with, regardless of how well they're doing. And that's fine. Like I would never criticize somebody for that, because I think there are a lot of people, a lot of us wouldn't want to be in the room with, famous or otherwise. And I think especially in the holidays, if we could green screen ourselves into situations, I think we'd all be a little happier. But what makes it funny to me is that RuPaul's developed this kind of reputation for being an us and them mentality, and her being green screened into these scenes. Like, you can tell her hair is weird, her eyeline, it doesn't match where other people are standing. She's not there. And when her assistant, played by Krista Rodriguez, comes in, and once you realize RuPaul's not there, then you realize that the person that is there is all a body double or a stand-in or some such thing, which makes it even weirder. If I were signed on to be an actor in a RuPaul Drag Race film, and I found out that all the scenes that I was going to have with RuPaul, she wasn't going to be there for, I would be a little pissed off. Like, as long as the check clears, I guess that's the main thing. But still, it's like, well, why be in a RuPaul project if you're not in the room with RuPaul, in drag or otherwise? So anyway, that was weird. The other thing that was weird was they had all of these RuPaul Drag Race queens in this movie. Now, there are only 5 in the main cast. Ginger Minge, Brooklyn Heights, Jan, Peppermint, and James Mansfield, and they are the core group of actors. There are then kind of a group of actors. The next one would have to be Morgan McMichael. She's in almost every scene that James Mansfield is in, and James is a lead for sure, and she has more than a few lines. But you see Raven is in it. She has a few lines and lip syncs in the opening number. Pork Chop is in it, not in drag. She plays the husband of Delia Von White Woman, aka James Mansfield, and the owner of the bank. Gottmik is also in this. Gottmik plays a co-worker of the lead actress, Krista Rodriguez. Ross Matthews and Carson Kressley are there as well. They're playing the commentators of the Christmas pageant that everyone's involved in. Michelle Visage, she's in it, of course. And she plays the narrator. Latrice Royale, she plays the Ghost of Christmas Spirit. Mayhem Miller is the bus driver. Laganja has a cameo as herself. Manila Luzon is in the opening number and not much more. Pandora Box lip syncs in the opening number. Rock'em Soccer is in it. There's Chad Michaels. He does a Cher impersonation. Kylie Sonique Love does a Dolly Parton impersonation. Kamora Black is there. Kelly Mantle. Heidi in Closet. I mean, they say this is the biggest cast of drag queens in a movie. An 84-minute movie. And this brings me to the rest of the casting. Now, for instance, the lead actress, Krista Rodriguez, you will remember her definitely from playing Liza Minnelli in Halston on Netflix. She was in the TV series Smash, the second season, which was also their final season. And she was on Broadway. Before that, she was the original Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family musical. Now, the reason that I bring up Krista in this role isn't because she does a bad job. She's really good. I really enjoyed her. And in fact, I don't know if I would have watched this if I hadn't realized she was in it, because I really did like her in Smash. But for a show that's touting like the largest number of drag queens in its cast, it makes me wonder, why didn't they have one of the drag queens play that role? I thought it would have been really cute. Like, if they couldn't get, and no offense to Krista, but if they couldn't get a more famous person or a bigger name, a drag queen could have played that role. And then another female role in this movie is the mayor of Tuckahoe, Mayor Coont, C-O-O-N-T. And she's played by Anna Marie Horsford. And if you do not know who she is, don't feel badly, because she's been in everything. You will recognize her the minute you see her. She's had bit parts in movies like St. Elmo's Fire, Set It Off, Along Came a Spider, Minority Report. Whether she has one line or a bunch of lines, she's been in a lot of movies. She's also done a lot of TV. She's also done a lot of voice work in cartoons. But the thing she's most famous for is playing Thelma Fry on the TV series Amen. She was Sherman Hemsley's daughter in that series. And it's, I think, the thing that she's most recognized for sure. I love her. I love Maria. And so I'm very glad to see her in this movie. But I don't know why Latrice Royale didn't play it and have a bigger part. Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm sure that they brought these other people in as draws, as, like names to kind of fill out the cast. But then the other thing that was weird was they had this nobody guy play the love interest. And no offense to him, Andy Ridings plays Big Russ, the love interest. And the things that he was in before, in season 1 of The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, he played Buckley's tutor, Charlie, or Charles. And he was in the movie Dirty 30, which was basically a YouTube project. The people that were centered in that were YouTube personalities, comics and stuff like that, writers, people, but they were gaining a lot of attention for themselves on YouTube. And he also was in a movie, Sedona, which I've never really heard of, nor do I care about. But yeah, so he plays a love interest, and the thing I like about him, his character's always taking his shirt off, which I never have a problem with. But the thing I really like about Andy playing this role is he's not buff. He's very skinny, but he's don't get me wrong, he's got a fantastic body, and whoever does his body makeup or tans him should get an award on their own, because he just looks so yummy. But he's not that typical, big buff body type, and I really enjoy that because it just gives the character more, I don't know, just I want to say accessibility. I don't want to say realism, but like there's just a quality about him that's easier to take because he's not like, he doesn't look like a stupid good looking from the gym. But he's not a name. They could have had Cameron Michaels play that role out of drag. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm sure it boils down to who was available and who wasn't and stuff like that. Like I'm not disparaging the production and its choices. I'm just surprised that there wasn't more drag race people in it for the novelty. Like if they're selling it as the biggest cast of drag queens, then they could have pushed it. So I'm just going to cut my crease with Rude Cosmetics Rainbow Spiked Base Pigment. This is just their white, and again, I'm using it because I want the colors that I'm going to be using to pop. Now, I also want to preface this by saying I know a lot of drag queens are too busy for this. I also know a lot of drag queens are too expensive for this. For instance, Brooklyn Heights plays this Russian hooker that literally just says Katya. They couldn't afford Katya. Do you know what I mean? It's a great role, and Brooklyn Heights does an excellent job. I was so impressed with her. She does a great Russian accent. Her performance was spectacular. But then Brooklyn spent a great many years performing with La Trocadero, which is a very theatrical, comedic ballet troupe, all-male ballet troupe. So, of course, I think she'd be great in an acting challenge. I was really, really impressed. I'm kind of glad Katya couldn't do it so that we could see Brooklyn Heights. Ginger Minge plays Hazel DeLashes, the owner of the inn that Olivia stays in while she's there doing her story. This is something else that was funny about this script that I was like, what? Olivia goes to do this story, but she goes undercover. She goes undercover in a wig and sunglasses to a town she's never been to or no one knows her from. I didn't understand that. But either way, her name, while she's undercover, is Maggie Zine. So Peppermint is in this. She plays the town taxi driver. Her character is constantly having driving issues. The phrase vehicular manslaughter gets thrown around a couple times, and she seems to have problems maintaining control of her cab. And I have to say, of everyone in this, she was the most disappointing person. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I don't mean like, oh God, she held the whole show back. But there was definitely a quality in her performing that was not up to par with some of the other queens. Like, I felt that Brooklyn outshone her, Ginger outshone her. Jan is in it as Jane Beige. She's the mail carrier who is devoid of personality. She has a lack of personality disorder. And I think that's just so funny because of how not that way she was on the show. You know, she had personality for everyone and their cousins. So I really enjoyed seeing Jan play this smaller energied role. I was very impressed with Jan. You know, not that I didn't think she had it in her, but it was such a treat to see her not be playing for the back row every 5 seconds. She did a great job. Jane Mansfield, I have to tell you, she did really good job. You know, she wasn't the worst thing in the cast. I think that the main success of this project is down to the director, Don Scardino. Don started his career out as an actor. He was actually a theater actor and then moved on to soap operas. He was on The Guiding Light. He was on All My Children. I think also Love is a Many Splendored Thing. You know, reoccurring. I don't know. I really don't know if he was just on one episode or a series or if he was background or not. I can't really find a lot of information about that. But while he was acting in these soap operas, he began to also direct them. So he became a director with the soaps, and then he went on to episodic television. And he's more known now for directing Tracy Takes On, 30 Rock, and My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. He also directed the movie The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, starring Steve Carell and Jim Carrey. So his directorial chops are valid for sure. The script, which was written in just over a month, I mean, right away, when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, I set my judgment bar too high. I should have been a lot more kinder coming out of the gate. But I don't know. I'm not saying that the script is badly written, but it could have been better. I also felt that they kind of took a cheap run, whether the writers were directed to or not, at cashing in on all of the Drag Race references. You know, they're just lines from that different queens have said, like, look over there, you know, things like that were thrown in. And if you're a diehard Drag Race fan, or 12, you'd be thrilled to hear them. You know, I'm not saying I don't understand why they did it like that. The interesting thing, though, is that the script writers, this was their, from what I can see, first professional writing gig. Now, I'm not saying that they hadn't written before, but the writers were Christina Frell and Connor Wright. I looked them up, and Christina, all of her credits up until this point are all production assistant, like entry-level jobs in the entertainment industry. And Connor, I don't see anything. But Christina, Connor, and a third chap, Ben Lapidus, wrote, produced, and starred in a podcast called Gay Future. And it wasn't a podcast like you expect a podcast to be. It's a 6-part series that takes place in 2062 where everybody's gay. Everybody's gay. But one of the characters actually is closeted. He's straight. And it's just a 6-part arc that's very gay, very gay jokes, gay tongue-in-cheek, very you know, spoofy, satirizing. It's very funny. Check it out. I put a link to it down below. So I think that Christina and Connor definitely have some legitimate writing chops. I'm not sure how well they translated into this project, but I don't think that they heard it at all. But there were definitely, in my opinion, there could have been better writing. Do you know what I mean? But the premise of this show is this editor has some issue with this small town who celebrates Christmas, and they do this huge multi-day pageant, and then the winners get the crown, and she wants her writer to go in there and write an expose on the town and then steal the crown. Delia von White Woman, who's won the crown, one of her promises if she wins is to bulldoze down the downtown area where this hotel is, run by Ginger, and put up a, like a yuppie store mall. So to help her do this, she hires an investigator to get dirt on these women, and the person she hires is called Mr. E. But the actor who plays him is David Koechner. I think that's how you say his name. You'll remember him from Anchorman. He played the sports guy in the cowboy hat. He's very funny. And he spends a lot of the movie in bad drag, and hilariously so. And in the course of all this, poor Olivia, aka Maggie Zine, is being hounded by her editor, played by RuPaul, who wants this expose written and the crown snatched. And, nobody can get the crown because it's locked up, and Maggie ends up falling for Big Russ, mostly because he never has a shirt on. And he always seems to have his shirt off. Something happens, like somebody drops something, and the only way he can save it is by catching it in his shirt, which he has to rip off his body. And no one has a problem with this, least of all me. Of course, he has some tragic tale about his fiance or ex-wife and her tragic death. And, there's all this backstory, and everybody's got a sad tale to tell. And it all culminates around the crowning of this year's winner of the Christmas pageant. And it's very funny because, we find out all this backstory about the mayor, the editor of the magazine, why she's so hard on Olivia. It's very funny, and it's very involved. We find out that the mayor is Hannah, aka RuPaul's sister. And there's all this tragedy around an earlier pageant where Hannah, aka Rue, won, and she holds up the crown, and as she holds it up, her pregnant belly breaks out of her costume, and everyone knows her shame of being unwed and pregnant, and and then there's the backstory between Hannah and Olivia, aka Maggie Zine, which is that Hannah is Olivia's mom. That when she's the illegitimate daughter, she got run out of town on. And of course, it all ends well, or as well as can be. The ladies from Kitten Heel Lane still end up winning the pageant, but the ladies themselves oust Delia von White Woman, and Morgan McMichael's character takes over the lead of that group and subsequently the crown. And it looks like at the end of the movie that Olivia's going to marry Big Russ, or at least swing off him for a minute or two. And even Hannah, the editor of the magazine, has a come to Jesus moment, but really only after her plans to escape kind of get thwarted by a helicopter crash landing. And I mean, on one level, it really makes an attempt to capture those classic Christmas specials that we older people all grew up on. But at the same time, there's a lot of swearing in it, and unnecessary swearing. The funniest swearing is what's bleeped out when Brooklyn Heights' character, during a singing challenge in the Christmas ball, has this whole moment where she just they're singing the 12 Days of Christmas, and on her day of Christmas, it's all like this and this and this. And it's very funny because you don't hear what she's saying. I really enjoy that kind of thing. I don't think you always need to hear the word to understand how funny what's happening is. But there's a lot of unnecessary, in my opinion, swearing for a script that really does read like it's aiming for the younger viewer. The music in it is great. Both Christina and Connor wrote the lyrics, but the music and other lyrics are written by Leland, who we've come to know on Drag Race, especially in the musical challenges. He seems to write those, and rightly so. I think he's a very clever writer, and the music in this is fantastic. It really is. There's a lot of older RuPaul Christmas music in it. And I mean, even at one point, they're playing Sissy That Walk during a makeover montage. So it's definitely another classic RuPaul songbook push, for sure. But for the most part, I loved the music. I thought it all did really well. And for what it was that we were watching, I thought that everyone did a great job. One of the interesting things about this movie is that the town square where most of this is filmed was the same town square that they used in the Marvel's production of WandaVision. So even though it's shot differently, it's not meant to look like natural. Like, it's mostly shot at night. I think every scene in this town square is a nighttime shot, except for maybe a couple of there's one or two daytime shots where Krista and Andy are sitting on a bench, but you don't see the whole town square. But it's I was very surprised because it doesn't look the same. I mean, here's what the power of lighting and set dressing will do for you. I'll tell you what. All right, I'm just going to finish my eyebrows, touch up my contour, and slap on my lashes and my lips. Bit of blush. I'll be right back. And here's the look. I love these two releases from Juvia's Place. Well, I'd be hard-pressed to find any release of Juvia's Place that I'm not interested in. I'm not a neutral queen. I like color, and Juvia's Place is a great place to stop for that. I was even able to use from the I Live, I Love palette this gorgeous sparkly red pressed glitter on my lips as a highlighter. The Olori, the three of them are gorgeous, but the Olori 2 is my favorite with the blues. I used the dark matte blue to define my crease. I used actually a lot of the shimmers in here as well. It's these three, I mean, I'm thrilled. As the latest release from Juvia's Place, the I Live, I Love regular and the I Live, I Love Ice, stunning. Olori 1, 2, and 3, delicious. I also, to finish this look, I mean, as you know, I only use Juvia's Place foundation. I only use Juvia's Place shade sticks. I did not use the Juvia's Place primer, only because it's got a color. I wanted a white primer, so I used the MAC paint pot for that. But I did use the Juvia's Place White Sands setting powder. This is really finely milled. It's great for under eyes. It doesn't settle into crepey skin and make everything look older. I also used Juvia's Place, the Heroin Loose Shimmer, and the Heroin Glow 2, which is a baked highlighter. I love this one. I used this one right on the apples of my cheeks just to give myself that Campbell's Soup Kid smile. I also used the Nefertari lipstick, and as I said, I used the red pressed glitter from the I Live, I Love palette to highlight my lips. I also, well, I'm going to say I also used the Wet n Wild. This is their, I can't remember, Skin Sheen. This is just almost like a wet glitter that goes on over everything. I use this all the time, so no offense to anybody, but until other companies start making something like that, be perfect, I'm yours. I'm just saying. Something that I didn't use, and I didn't mean not to, is the new Juvia's Place eyeliner. I have their eyeliner and I have their liquid liner. I have to say I'm a bigger fan of the liquid liner. And so must everyone else because it's sold out off the website right now. But just to be sure to tell you, I don't make a cent from talking about Juvia's Place. I just love to talk about Juvia's Place. They're that good. I also used for my blush today this pink from the Festival palette. It's gorgeous. I also used a bit of the red just to deepen and contour, but another fantastic, color-rich, brilliant palette from Juvia's place. The film, well, The Bitch Who Stole Christmas. If I were to tell you it was great, I'd be lying. If I told you that I was thrilled I had to watch it more than once for this video, I'd be lying again. I enjoyed it the first time, but it was a fantastic, I think, opportunity for Brooklyn Heights Ginger Minge. Well, Ginger Minge doesn't need any more opportunities. She's established herself as a solid performer, but it was so great to see her. Jan really did a fantastic job, as did James Mansfield. The only disappointment for me was Peppermint, and she's not the reason the movie sucked. I'm not saying, when you compare her to the others. It's a fun movie the first time, but unfortunately, because it's a Christmas movie, we'll be watching this through the month of December for the rest of our lives. Is that a good thing? I'm not here to say. Will I watch it again? Probably. Probably I'll throw it on in the background, or if somebody's over who hasn't seen it. But regardless, it is a fabulous opportunity to see some of your favorite RuPaul girls, even if it's for a fleeting moment, on the small screen, or depending on how you roll, big screen. I don't know what your TV looks like. But I want to thank you for joining me for another Makeup and Movies. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Of course, there's links to my Redbubble store, my Patreon page. Also, if you want to be a Tipperdoo and support this channel, there's a link to that as well. I also have a link to the Rainbow Railroad for information, and or if you would like to make a direct donation to them. Or if you want a little something for your effort, you can buy a Denise Journeau print, The Wilma Railroad, which is exclusively, all proceeds from that print go directly to Rainbow Railroad. And until next time, miss me! Mwah. Ooh, seriously.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.